Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Barricade.
Hey.
I'm Laura.
I'm Maddie.
And yeah.
Yeah,
Who do we have today?
We get to talk to Slow Joy today.
Mm-hmm.
It is Esteban.
Yes,
Esty.
We sit down, talk to him. This is actually our first podcast while somebody is in a moving vehicle.
Yeah, he is actively on tour.
Actively,
during
physically.
the time of this recording.
Yes. He's in a van with his band. I think he's traveling from Portland to somewhere, California.
Yeah.
Something.
Somewhere in California.
He's going to California. Yeah. Yeah, so if there is, and again, I don't know how podcast works.
You have a podcast, ma'am.
I do, but we have a very talented human who knows actually the ins and outs of the technical side of it.
Shout out Hayden once again.
We love you, Hayden. Long story short, he is on the road. There's like a section or two where he kind of like freezes and we're like, did we pick up what you just said? So
hopefully either it recorded fine or Hayden fixes it to where you can't tell. But if you can, it's the reality of touring.
Yes, it is. And, we have a podcast where we interview people who just happen to be on tour sometimes.
We're on tour and we don't have,
And we're very thankful.
And iPhones are what we have, and that's what we use.
We will say he's very, Este's so kind.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He was talking, he's like, we're on the road. This drive was supposed to be shorter. And he's like, but I didn't want to reschedule. He's like, I wanted to talk to you guys. And so you're just getting on the road.
Yeah.
And we're like, wow, we appreciate that.
And we're so thankful because it was such a fun episode. He is so great to talk to. Slow Joy is such a fun project that he's been doing for a minute now.
Mm-hmm. He's been doing it for a minute. And then we kind of dive into it in the podcast too, that, he's just been always involved in music in some way. And so...
Because you know him from before Slow Joy, right?
I do, yeah. And I stumbled upon Slow Joy quite literally on TikTok. And I was like, that's Esty. Wait, what is happening? And then I click on his profile and he has all these followers. And I'm like, whoa. I'm like, what is happening here? This is a weird canon event. I'm reliving now. And so, I knew him from a different project. We go into it in the podcast. I'm not going to say it all now. You'll listen to it in a few little minutes here. Yeah. But it was good. It was good catching up, just seeing his growth and talking about this project. Like we said, Slow Joy is so fun and so great.
Yeah, it was a really good talk. We obviously talk about kind of the formation of Slow Joy. We dive into his musical influences, which we always love talking to people about. Talk about the latest EP that came out and the writing process for that, and just all the fun tour things, all the fun things that Este's got coming up. It's a really, really good episode. We're excited for you to hear it. Yeah,
and we won't keep yapping about it. Yeah. You guys want to listen to it, so here we go.
Let's just dive on in.
Yeah, enjoy. Well, hey, everybody. We are back here, another podcast episode, and we are joined with Este himself, Slow Joy. Hello.
Hey.
In a van? Is that where you are?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm in a moving vehicle at the moment.
I think you're our first mobile interview.
Yeah.
I was going to try to stop, but we have a very long drive today, so it was like either hop in here or reschedule, and I wasn't going to miss this.
There we go. It works.
And also, kudos to everybody in that van because it's so quiet.
Yeah.
They're doing good. Yeah, no, I yelled at everybody before. I was like, y'all got to shut up.
Fair. Great. Very fair. Very fair. Yes. Well, yeah. We'd love for you to just introduce yourself to the people who have no idea who Slow Joy is.
Yeah, as stated, my name is Esteban Flores. I go by Este, but I have a moniker on stage. It's Slow Joy. It's alt rock, all of the fun goodness that comes with that. And yeah, I'm from Dallas. That's the big synopsis of what I imagine say alt rock artist who goes by Slow Joy. And I'm definitely not a band. I get people they're like, yeah, I love your band. I'm like, okay, that works.
It's just me.
That's my fault.
Yep. You're like, thank you. I'll let my band, aka me, know.
Well, it's honestly the worst when they're like, I love your band, I'm like, yeah, thank you so much, because people play on live. It's when I've gotten messages online from people saying how selfish I was for it being my own photo instead of
that's funny.
It's like you thought you had an ego, and I was like, what?
It's just me.
It's just me. I don't know what to say.
You're like, hey.
Hey. You should reach out to my boys. I think they're fine with it. So yeah. That's always
I
what
was
I'm
about
like.
to say, I feel like a lot of people like in bands in general, like even if it's like a band of like fully grown men, they're like, honestly, we're totally fine not being in the spotlight.
We don't care.
We don't care.
It's like the best of both worlds. I get to stress out about everything, and then they get to come on tour and have a good time. So
there
like,
you go.
yeah. When they're at home in bed with their families, and I'm in the studio for a month, no one's complaining then. So
Exactly. Use that to humble them real quick.
mostly humbling myself, but yeah, it's always a funny
right.
conversation.
Exactly. Yes.
Well, we are so thankful for you for joining us while like quite literally actively on tour.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We were super excited. I'm a newer fan of Slow Joy, so I was kind of introduced to you not that long ago. However, L'Oreal has a funny little origin story of she's been aware of you for a while.
That sounds so creepy. When you say
she's been aware, she's been watching.
Yes, no, it's only because, like you said, like the Dallas music scene. I was heavily involved in a group called Tacos and Tunes, and
cool.
we had Phoebes.
Yeah. That's
yes,
crazy.
and I know Rolly from good old church days, and so like it's all connecting.
That's hilarious. Yeah, he's my best friend.
Yeah.
He would be touring full time if like this would have happened maybe 5 years earlier. He's my favorite.
I was going to say, him and Mary, they have kids now. They're loving their home life.
He's settled into it. I actually got to take him on because I always feel bad because like with Phoebes, it was kind of a grind. You're playing to like empty rooms and doing that whole thing. Tacos and Tunes was really great. That was like the baked in crowd, but it wasn't normally like that. It was normally like you travel, 3 hours to go play for no people for no money. And we did that for, I would say like 10 years of our lives. And so when Slow Joy finally took off, Rolando was ready to be out. And it was kind of perfect, but he never got to experience any of the fun stuff. So this last week, I got to take him with me to go play his first festival. And it was like next to his childhood hero who played right next to him. And it was like this really cool experience because I was like, I feel like you and I both paid our dues, and you need to experience the other side of it.
I love that. You took him with you.
Yeah, he's my boy. I would take him everywhere if I could.
It was 2018 Dias de los Muertos show that we hosted. And I remember you guys were matching jackets.
Yeah, the red ones.
And then it was like, you were the red jackets, exactly. And then it was like, I blinked, a whole bunch of life happened. And then I was scrolling on TikTok and then I saw your face and it was like Slow Joy. And I was like,
wait a minute.
That's SD. I was like, wait, what? And then I dug deeper and I was like, oh my God. Like he kept going, which is awesome because it's so easy to just kind of get stagnant and be like, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. But you had a huge following and people like love Slow Joy. Like it's like a common name out here.
Yeah, I'm thankful for it. I actually did stop. I didn't expect any of this. I was ready for this to be done. Some of the origin story of Slow Joy is like my mom had just passed away and I thought I was going to have to deal with she left behind a couple sisters. So I was like, okay, the dream is over. Got to get a real job. Got to do the whole thing. So I got a job in marketing. I quit doing anything active in music and got into therapy to help with grief counseling. And in the process of that, that's when my therapist was like, hey, what do you use to process emotions? I was like, it used to be music, but I can't do that as a pursuit. And she really instructed me to try to use it more for emotions as opposed to pursuit. And it was like a light bulb went off in my head where I was like, oh, it's not a pursuit. It's like art for the first time in my life. And that's how Slow Joy was born. And then then the universe was like, okay, now you can have it kind of thing. So I spent all those years in Thieves and all these other bands trying to have it and trying to hold it so tightly. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until I let it go that it happened for me. So I too had life happen. And then I don't know. I'm consistently I don't know how I ended up in a band touring full time when I was I'm done with this.
Right. So. It always happens like that.
Yeah. I feel like it always happens at the time that it's supposed to.
Yeah, totally.
It's that annoying cliche.
I'm really thankful it happened the way it did, to be honest with you.
I had a question to kind of follow up on that because we were curious about the formation because obviously you had a project before this, but where did the name Slow Joy come from?
Well, it was at the time, so it was 2020 And all of that had happened around the same time. So we were, dealing with COVID, dealing with my mom passing away and all that stuff. And I had to remind myself, like, anytime something changed quickly, it was for the worst. And anytime something changed slowly, it was usually for the better. That, like, good things take time. So it's like a slow joy. So that's kind of where it all landed. For me, it was like, I needed to remind myself, it's like, hey, good things take time. So, like, remind yourself that. And it's a really good mantra for me too, because, when you're on tour for 6 weeks and you're exhausted and you've spent all of this time in, like, a little 15-passenger van, you're like, why can't this happen faster? And it's like just a constant reminder. Like, it takes a little bit for things to grow, and it's a slow joy. So I actually get reminded that from my fans often. So people are like, it's not like when I'm like, hey, the record's coming eventually, I'm sorry, it's not faster. And they're like, well, it's called slow joy. We expected it. So
dang.
That is such a good little, like, mantra and reminder, because I agree 1000%. That's everything good takes time.
Yeah. Good things can happen quick, but it's, like, hard to sustain it that way. Like, it takes a lot of building. They always call it the, like, 10-year overnight success.
Yes.
I think it's true. It's like things seem like they're quick, but usually when they happen quick, you lose, like, any sense of, like, how to sustain it. And that's how you have to, like, quick fall, quick, or quick rise, quick fall. And I think just, like, generally speaking, like, you got to, like, build stuff, and that's just a constant reminder for me.
Yeah, I think it also goes into, like, appreciating things more when they do take time, because when it happens instantly, you don't have that, we toured for 10 years and it was a grind and nothing was happening. And now that you are where you are, I would imagine you have a lot more appreciation for it, having gone through the grind first.
Absolutely. I also am just, like, more, like, because I'm, older now, I value people's time more now. So, like, the fact that you use, 25 minutes, and not just 25 minutes, you use the time it takes to get there, the time it takes to, like, buy the ticket, all this stuff that it takes to go to a show and watch it. I recognize that. And I'm always on stage, like, this group of people will never be in a room together again. And, like, thank you for using a little bit more of your time on me. Like, that's insane. You could do everything else, everything else exists outside of this place. So the fact that you chose to do this is incredible. And I think I wouldn't have gotten that perspective unless I was, like, in my 30s and like, realizing this stuff.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think, like you saying, like, people taking out any sort of their time, it's so valuable. And so the fact that they're, like, using it, they're actively choosing it to spend it with you is such a compliment. I feel like it's the highest form of flattery is consideration and, like, and time. And so I love that.
That's huge.
Well, who are the artists that you were, spending time going to and really just, like, enjoying their show?
So from like a smaller perspective, there were, like, really great bands in Dallas when I first started playing there, that were, like, these really cool, like, local shows, like a band called Mankind Forever. It's, like, a band that I, like, go back to and I listen to all the time. And, like, anytime they played, I went and watched them. And they were, like, friends of mine, but I just love them. From, like, a zoomed out perspective, I've seen Kings of Leon, like, 5 times. And I will do it every time. Anytime Idols is around, I'm going to buy a ticket. I just love music that, like, especially if you can, like, captivate. Being in music, you listen to so much of it that, like, if you can hear something that captivates you, like, right now, Fontaines is coming to Dallas in April. And I'm praying I don't have a tour around then so that I can go watch it. But yeah,
please let me not have a show so I can go to yours.
Yeah,
exactly. That's really how it feels. So, when it comes to music right now, like, the, Idols and Fontaines and Modest Mouse is doing this insane tour right now. And, like, we have an off day and I'm going to, like, try it. Like, I'll be using, like, hours of my life to make sure I can make it to that show, because we'll have to, like, we'll play a show and then I'll drive to New York and, like, try to get there. But it's because, like,
you gotta do it.
I value them. I love what they've done. It is so impactful to me. And, like, the fact that anybody would do that for me is insane. So yeah, I love those bands.
I love that so much. And they're so different, I think, which is also very important. And your music in general too, I feel like your journey has you have so many different sounds, I feel like. And I think it's described, you said it too before, you were like, you're described as, or heavily influenced by, what was
90s
it?
alt rock?
90s alt rock.
Yeah.
And so do you think your influences change from project to project, or even like album to album, anything like that?
Yeah, definitely project to project. I'll say, like, I think a lot of it was because I was chasing a sound, and now I'm doing what is like real to me. So
Nice.
In the past, I did do like indie rock, and then I like kept switching because I was like, oh, this is popular now, and it was like a pursuit. Versus now, the thing that I learned was like, you have to do what matters to you. And it's so funny that it ended up in this like heavy phase. But I was like, even when I was doing like indie, poppy stuff, I was like a square peg trying to go through a round hole. I was like stomping and like punching my guitar and moving around. Like I just didn't have an avenue for that. And I got the like, people were saying like, oh, you sound like this, you sound like, you sound like alt rock, like 90s, or like you sound like brand new, or you sound like these bands that like existed in the early 2000s. And it was really just because like, that was just, I like choruses, I like heavy guitars, and I like really quiet parts and really loud parts. And that's what pulled it in. It wasn't till like retroactively that I started like listening to the music that people said I sounded like. I wasn't like allowed to listen to a lot of music. So now I get to like go back and listen to the music that formed, the music that I did like. So, getting to listen to like Nirvana in your 30s is cool because you can actually experience it. You're like, what?
It's so, it's so relatable.
Yes.
Yeah. It's a cool thing. It's a blessing in disguise because now I get to use my adult brain when I listen to like the Pixies or like Nirvana or, any of these fantastic bands that formed the bands that we love now, Smashing Pumpkins, for example.
So true.
That. So kind of to piggyback off of that, your latest EP, Mi Amigo, came out this summer. We were kind of curious as to what the writing process for that was. And I know you mentioned that like it's been a little more authentic to you, but were there influences on that album, or were you just kind of feeling it out? Like what was the process for that EP?
I mean, absolutely. Like I said, I before I got into that EP and then the subsequent album that's coming next year, I went back to like what made like rock, because rock music is not that old. Like it's the 60s and 70s is when like, or the 50s and 60s is when rock and roll started. And then alt rock is not an old genre. So I got to go back to the grandfathers of what built all these, getting into the emo and all that stuff. Like you go back far enough and you can see where all that came from. So I took a lot from the early, like the like Doolittle, the Pixies album is incredible. I listened to it like obsessively. I listened to Nirvana obsessively when I was making this album. And I know it doesn't sound like that because it's not 100% like a grunge album, but it was like, oh, I really love how they go from literally nothing to like so loud. Like I love how there's not a lot of production going on. I love that the lyrics are like so real, but also you can be a little bit nonsensical. Like that's where the King Cowboy thing came from. Is I wanted it to be a little bit like tongue in cheek and nonsensical while also being satire. And that was kind of where I was landing, and that's where I was taking a lot of inspiration from, while also getting really into like songwriting itself. Yeah. I love like guitar riffs. I love things like that, but like I love a good song. Like at my core, it's like arena rock is usually what I'm really into. So that big like Linkin Park song or like a big Foo Fighters song, and I'm always like, yeah, hell yeah, like that sound is something that I love. So I just try to inject both of those, like, I guess, opposing views into each other.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go on.
I was going to say, I love that you kind of broke down like what, like taking aspects of things. There's a really good book that I love that's called Steal Like an Artist. Yes. And I think about it every time we talk to people about influences, because you're not trying to make a Pixies album, but it's cool to listen to things that you love and admire and like pick apart why you like them and infuse that kind of in your own way. So I love that you basically explained that to a T.
Yeah, no, I was heavily influenced by that book. That and The Creative Act were like two huge books that I like had started listening to. But I mean, it's so true. Like, you're not going to reinvent the wheel. Like it's everything. I mean, there's 8 notes in a scale, so like
Right.
Yes.
there's going to be some overlap. But like the truth is, the thing that makes it real the thing that makes it original is your perspective. Like if you use things that don't matter to you, it's not going to matter to the listener. Like you have to like talk about things that actually matter. And like every single song on Mi Amigo was like from something that mattered to me, and I was talking about that. And like I think that's why it landed. And also, I feel like if I tried to rewrite, like if you gave me the parts to Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I tried to make it to a T, it's not going to sound the same because I'm a different person. And I think like that's exactly. So it's like you should definitely like, you know, be inspired, and then at the end of it, you like people will like not even actually know what you were influenced by. Everybody thinks I got a lot of comments on Pulling Teeth. They were like, "Where's my mind?" And I was like, we literally didn't even think about that when we were writing that song. Like, it's different chords too, but it was like, it's so funny that people are like, you ripped this song off. And I was like, I wasn't even there.
Nope.
I was listening to Doolittle still. That was like 3 records later.
It's so funny. We've talked about this multiple times because obviously we're not musicians ourselves. We're just music fans. And so this is something that we talk to a lot of people about, which has been really cool to get a different perspective, because I think I, by default, not being a musician myself, automatically assume that anyone writing within a certain genre is only influenced by that genre. But it like more often than not, and I would almost say like every time, people are like giving their influences, and it's never who I would like expect, which is so funny to me.
Fun.
And I love that. And it's like you said, just putting your own spin on things to where it's not even obvious that that's what you took inspiration from.
Yeah, I think it's baked in somewhere. I think it's this like internal thing that like, as long as you follow your, like what makes you excited, then you're always going to land somewhere you like. I think it gets dark when you try to do something that's like, well, people want this from me. Which I could have done, you know. I did the like Southwest emo thing, and like I did that stuff, and I was like, well, people want more of that versus like, let's actually try to write different stuff. And I think it's starting to work out.
I think it is. I think so. I will say too, like a kind of a testament to that, it working. One thing that I've noticed about, you know, just your writing style in particular, it's like you are writing about the stuff that matters, but you're doing it in a very creative way. And I feel like it's a way that's often like not hit on a lot. And if it is done well, like you're like, holy crap, like I don't know. It's essentially like you're able to tell these stories and putting yourself in like a different perspective that you might have not have been like the actual like person, but yet you're still telling the story as a whole from that perspective. I don't even know if that made sense how I explained it.
It totally does.
Yeah, but I'm like, you do that very well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, that's important to me. I mean, I'm a huge fan of like Isaac Brock and like Tyler, the Creator, and these guys who can just like tell stories.
Yes.
But what I've realized is like when you tell a story, it doesn't matter if it's not from the like your perspective, you know. So you have to like put yourself in that shoe, and you have to like pretend like that's you. Like, I have no connection to like anything Western. Like I'm not from Texas. I'm from New Mexico. Like, but like the fact that I wrote a brash song about like I'm the king of all cowboys is literally a testament to I was like how like much more interesting it would it be if you were like telling a story from that perspective as opposed to like, you know, like more pointing your finger at like something that you think is wrong. I think I think it's just more interesting that way. And I personally think it's more fun that way. I think Tyler does a really good job of like putting himself in these like crazy stories that's like, you know, he's not robbing a bank, but like for a little bit you're like, hell yeah, I think he's doing it, you know?
Exactly.
I think that's such a talent in and of itself, because obviously it's such a talent to be able to storytell like from your own experiences, but to be able to put yourself in someone else's shoes or just a made up scenario even and like tell it in such detail to where people, I don't know, you know, that you bring the story to life. It's such a talent in and of itself.
Yeah, you have to have imagination.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot of imagination. It's something I want to work on. I definitely I'm just starting to get there, but I'm trying to get even better at it because my natural state is just writing songs that I've experienced this, but I definitely want to get into more storytelling because you'll run out of things to talk about, especially if you spend 9 months out of the year in the back of a van. You're going to write a record about touring, and I don't think I want to do that yet.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of touring, how has tour been? You are out right now currently with Real Friends?
Yes, Real Friends, Can't Swim, and Carly Cosgrove.
And you are not stopping in Dallas.
I know, right?
Which is so rude.
I haven't had a tour that if it was up to me, we'd be there for sure. I haven't had a tour that stops in Dallas yet, and it's been depressing. The best they can give me is Houston and San Antonio, so I'll take those. And El Paso.
Yeah, that's fair.
Tour's been great though. It's
technically okay.
We just started, so we have a long way to go. So I'm just trying to keep healthy, But the shows have been fun.
Yes, very important.
Yeah. I love that. So we don't want to take up too much of your time, but I know tour just kind of kicked off and that's what you're doing right now. But do you have any other plans for the end of the year or once tour wraps up, anything else that you're working on that you want to share with the people?
Yeah, I have an album coming out next year. We're getting everything wrapped up for that. It's painful to have 12 songs in my Dropbox and I can't share them yet. So... but yeah, the album is coming. I'm so excited. These are all of the songs on that album I think are the best songs I've ever been a part of. So that's what I'm looking forward to in the next year. Yeah. So
I love that.
Now everyone gets to anxiously await that.
Yeah. The goal right now is to survive November and meet a bunch of new people, come back in December, finish up the last little bit of creative stuff, go to sleep for a couple of days after this tour, and then and then hit the ground running early next year.
There you go.
Amazing.
That sounds like a great plan.
Yeah.
Trying my best.
Well, to wrap up a little bit of everything, this is a question that we ask everybody on our podcast. And so it doesn't have to be current, but we just want it to be honest. And that is, what are you currently listening to?
Fontaines, that new album is incredible. Fontaines DC. It is so good. But I've been really into a lot of European music right now. There's something really cool going on over there. But Idols, Fontaines, and Kneecap are 3 artists I've just have been listening to obsessively. And High Viz. There's another band called High Viz I've just really love.
Okay. I love that so much.
Amazing.
Check those out.
So
Check
cool.
all of their new albums out. You'll love them.
Yes. I love that.
That's what we'll be doing as soon as we're done with this.
Absolutely. Yep. Cool.
Well, thank you so much for your time and taking a little snippet of your van time on tour while you're driving through Portland to talk to us.
Tell the guy, how many people are in the van right now with you?
There are 3 other people sitting around me.
Tell them they did such a great job and we appreciate their silence so much.
Yeah, I will definitely tell them that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. This was really fun.
Yeah, this was so much fun. We can't wait for you to one day stop in Dallas.
I was about to say, whenever you decide to have a show here, we will definitely be there.
I'm actually playing in February.
Really?
And it's free. Yeah, I'm at Club Dada. Yeah, they just announced it.
Club Dada.
Yeah, let's go to Dada.
Yeah, there's this really cool festival that they're doing where it's every night there's another headlining band that they're doing for free for a week in a few venues throughout DFW. It just announced you have to RSVP, but it is free. So
we will be there.
Doubtless.
All right.
1,000%.
We'll catch you in February then.
See you in February.
Can't wait.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.
Hi again.
I really thought you were going to start with, so what did you think?
I was about to say, what'd you guys think about it? Tell me, look me in the eyes and tell me, what did you think about the podcast?
Do you love SD as much as we do now?
I think you do.
The answer is definitely yes.
The answer is absolutely yes.
Yeah.
In the Magic 8 Ball I shook in my mind, it said absolutely yes. So anyway,
I hope you guys enjoyed. If you are not already a fan of Slowjoy, definitely go check out his music because obviously now you get a little taste of who he is, who Slowjoy is.
Yeah.
Now you should go dive in if you haven't already because he is just such a good human.
He is.
It was so fun to talk about everything with.
Yes. So fun. I think probably one of the things that like I took away just out of like Slow Joy in general, like listening to their music and kind of taking a deep dive into their discography, it's like his storytelling in general.
Yes. Yeah.
I am quite literally obsessed with it. He has one song. We didn't talk about it on the podcast, but this is just something I've discovered recently. But like he has a song, for example, with his, or he has a song he wrote.
We're having trouble with words.
Words are so hard, guys. So you should start a podcast if you struggle with words. Anyway, he has this song that he's made. That doesn't sound right either. He wrote. He has this song that he wrote, and it's from the perspective like of it's about his father's divorce, but it's in his dad's perspective.
Yeah.
But yet he created it.
That's wild.
It's wild, and it's so like I said this to him. I was like, you have to have such an imagination to unlock that sort of creativity.
Yeah.
And I applaud anybody who can do that.
1,000%.
Yeah.
And I loved how he was like, yeah, I want to get better at it. We're like, no, you're so good.
Like, you're already so good. Like how, okay. I mean, yes, I will absolutely take more.
I mean, we love growth.
Yes.
But.
Yeah. But yeah, what was your little favorite?
I really loved, and obviously we talked about it on the podcast, but I really loved talking about influences just because I mentioned it. It's never what like I think it's going to be. Mm-hmm. And I love, because I brought up a book that I really love called Steal Like an Artist, which he had also read and basically described verbatim the idea of like liking something, but identifying why you like it. And you're not trying to recreate it, but just taking that aspect of what drew you to it and incorporating it in your own way. And it's such like a cool way of describing it.
Yeah.
And I feel like every artist does that, or every creative, no matter what you do. Because I definitely think with photography that we do, I see myself doing that and analyzing photos and being like, why do I like this photo? Is it the lighting? Is it the subject matter?
What is it? Yeah.
Whatever. So I love hearing other people talk about that as well.
Yeah. And it's so fun.
Yeah.
You could tell that he was really passionate about it.
For sure.
He honestly took the conversation and ran.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It was nice. I really feel like with this episode, we were able to like tap into his brain.
Yeah.
And learn about him.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it after we had recorded it, but we had questions kind of like roughly outlined that we wanted to ask him. And a lot of times he would dive into it right before we were going to ask the question anyway. We're like, this is great.
I was like, oh, well, speaking of that.
Yeah.
How is
Actually.
tour? Yeah. So he's on tour currently. He'll still be on it because it'll be November.
Yeah, probably wrapping up.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
With Real Friends?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they'll be wrapping up that tour. If you haven't already caught a date, or if they are coming near you, definitely do that. Mm-hmm. We also, after we stopped recording, we chatted with him a little bit, and he mentioned that he's going to be in Dallas in February. So I think we're going to try to hit up that show if we can.
Yeah, it's a free show.
Free show.
Just have to RSVP, Club Data.
Yeah. So if you're in Dallas like we are, definitely look into that, because we're going to try to be there if we can.
1,000%. Yeah. But yeah, we, again, podcasts in general with the kind of what we're doing and the artists that we're trying to get and just anybody we're trying to get with, we appreciate their time so much. And that was something we actually talked about too on the podcast. We talked about people's time and how much we value it.
Yes.
And so the fact that we were able to talk with SD while quite literally on the road was huge. And it's nothing that, we never take that for granted, for sure. So it was a fun one.
Yeah. So thankful for him. Like we said, if you haven't checked out Show Joy, Slow Joy. God, words are really hard today. If you haven't checked out Slow Joy yet, definitely do that. If you're anywhere where he's playing a show, definitely show up. Check him out. He's fantastic.
He's fantastic. He is so much energy and such a good show to watch. So
and just such a good human.
Yeah.
And we love supporting good humans.
Support a good human. Go to a Slow Joy show.
Yeah.
That's all I got,
guys.
You guys, we're not going to keep you. Honestly, the episode was like cut perfectly too. We talked to him like at the exact, right where we like to keep the sweet spot. And these intros and outro right here. Yeah. It's going to be a cute little sweet spot.
Yeah. So we hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will be back in 2 weeks. And we'll catch you then.
We will. Make sure you're following along. We almost forgot that.
Oh, yeah. Do that. Follow us. Like the podcast. All the things that we have to say.
What helps us so much is when you leave a review.
That helps us so much.
It really does. So
it helps us get found by not just our families and friends.
You're so right. It does, though. I would love somebody outside of our family to listen to our podcast. So Make sure you're leaving a review, share it on wherever you want. Follow us on all the social medias.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's where you'll find us.
Yeah.
If we don't see you at a show.
Which hopefully we will soon.
Yes. All right, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.